start every presentation with a little bit about me. First, I want to say I'm glad to finally be out and about in public again. It felt kind of weird putting the jacket on this morning, I'm not going to lie. I haven't worn a jacket probably in a year and a half, so it's nice to be out again. My name is Kurt Mueller. I'm a certified financial planner with Apollo Wealth Management. I live in North Augusta with my two boys, Drake and Gage. They're 8 and 5. They're awesome. I'm fortunate enough to get to spend time with them. I'm taking them to the skating rink this afternoon. My beautiful wife, Megan, we've been married 15 years, and she works as an anesthetist at Augusta University. So she's been staying busy, as I'm sure you guys can imagine. So let's start with my why. I think it was the last speaker that talked about Simon Sinek, which I love, by the way. If you haven't read that book, Start With Why. Seriously. Do it, buy it today. I mean, it's phenomenal. I read it twice. I probably need to read it 3 more times. It's amazing. But I always like to start with my why, because in my industry, there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of lack of transparency. I've made some enemies in my industry because I'm very outspoken about things that I don't agree with. And that's okay. I'm okay with that, right? So let's start with my why first and foremost. For those that have heard my why, I'm sorry, you're going to hear it again. I see some new faces in here, so that's a good thing, right? My why is pretty simple. My dad is 76 years old. My mother is 69 years old. They live in my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri. I know, I'm not from here, as you can tell. I married a Southerner, though, and I graduated from the Citadel, so I got that going for me. My dad's 76, my mom's 69. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. I'm 38 years old. I support my parents in retirement. There's something wrong with that. I support my parents in retirement, financially. There's something wrong with that. They're smart people. My parents raised us the best they could. They're great people. But they didn't plan. And now they have to rely on their oldest son to support them. So, what gets me out of bed in the morning? I don't want anybody else to end up like that. At all. If I can help it, I don't want to end up like that. So that's my why. Because I realized when I moved down here 5.5 years ago that I was a little bit different. Some people took me as a little bit aggressive. Maybe I was. Now, there was no maybe, I was. But I had some good people in my corner that said, hey, cowboy, you slow down a little bit. So I'm back to 5th gear. So I stay in 5th gear now, not 6th. Right? But that's my why. It's important you guys understand that. Because this is passion, right? That's what that is. Passion. Now let's talk about financial culture. Let's talk about financial culture in this country as a whole. We don't like to save money. As a whole. As a country, Americans are terrible at saving money. Would you agree? It's the American way. You can't afford it? Finance it. And you know what? You can finance just about anything. You don't have to go very far to see that. Look at the billboards you see. Pay attention to the radio advertisements that you see. What about all those pop-ups on your phone? Gotta have it now. New iPhone? Gotta have it now. My neighbor got a new car? Gotta have it now. So-and-so's kids are going to this really nice school. Well, my kids should go there too. Keeping up with the Joneses. Keeping up with the Joneses. So as a country, I believe that our financial culture sucks. As a country. And I'm not going to bore you. First of all, I'm not a PowerPoint guy. Okay, that's what you're going to get to look at the whole time. I don't like PowerPoint. I hate it. It's not me. Okay? But I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of statistics, and pie charts, and line graphs, and talk about the market, and the Fed, and inflation. Why? Because you're going to go to sleep on it. None of that really matters, in my opinion. Here's what I look at. A couple of things. There are more financial products in this country that you can buy than ever before. But, as a country, our consumer debt is at an all-time high. Google it. The average American household does not have $1,000 in emergency savings. That's a sad state of affairs, folks. I think that my industry bears some of that responsibility to fix that. Because it's my industry, in my opinion, that has helped put us there as a country. Now you're beginning to see why I'm not very popular when I go to financial planning conferences. But it's the truth. This country doesn't need more products. We've got enough products. We've got enough products. This country needs planning. Planning. So you might be sitting there thinking, okay, I'm a business owner, so what does this mean for my employees? I'll tell you what it means. An employee who has a sound financial plan and feels good about their personal financial situation will make a better employee. Do I have a bunch of stats for that? No. It's common sense. Come on. Common sense. Right? That's one less worry on their plate. Now, will there be other worries? Sure. Family, relationships, all kinds of other things. But it's common sense. If they are financially fit at home, they are going to make a better employee. Look, Kurt, HR said I can't talk about that stuff. I didn't tell you how to. That's the other response that I hear from business owners or leaders in organizations. They say things like, well, HR said I can't do. Who's in HR? You're in HR, right? Well, now we can't talk about that. Stay with me. Stay with me. Okay? What I'm trying, my message today is to hopefully get across to you to expect more out of my industry. Because my industry owes it. They owe it. We have a debt. We are partially responsible for creating this mess. Okay? What does that mean? So if you're in a larger company, and you've got a 401k, for example, expect more. From who? From the people managing the 401k. Well, they come in once a year and they give us lunch at Jimmy John's, and then they put up a nice, really cool PowerPoint. Great, does nothing. Am I right? I see some laughing. That's what my industry thinks is relevant. It's not relevant. Why? Do you think an hourly employee wants to spend an hour of their lunchtime and sit in a presentation and eat Jimmy John's or Subway to learn about stuff they have, and then they leave and they have no real idea what they're talking about? No. They don't. It does nothing. So if you're the owner of an organization, if you're in leadership of an organization, and you are interviewing people to manage your 401k, I'm here to tell you that you can expect more. Ask the advisor. Will you come in more than once a year? And what will you talk about? Well, I'll do this, this, and this. I want you to talk about monthly budgeting. I want you to help my employees become more financially fit. Will you do that? It's a yes or no question. They won't do it? Move on to the next one. I'm telling you, it is absolutely a reasonable expectation if you're an owner or in a leadership position to expect that of my industry. Expect it. If you don't lay that out, they will not do it. I'm telling you. Well, why? Why won't they do that? Kurt, everybody's a great person. Because they're not getting paid for it. And that opens up a whole other can of worms, doesn't it? How do they get paid? So I'm going to peel back some of this cloak of mystery on my industry here, right? I'm going to tell you up front how they get paid. They get paid based on how much is in the 401k. A percentage. Could be 60 basis points, could be 75 basis points, but the startup plan might be 1%. So as long as you continue to tolerate them coming in once a year to put up a PowerPoint that nobody understands, then that's what they're going to do. It's that simple. saying that a presentation like that has absolutely no value? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it has no impact. Why? Because financial fitness starts at home. It starts with making sure you understand cash flow. So even if you're a business owner, one thing you can do proactively, or a leader of an organization, is help employees understand the basics of cash flow. I'm not talking about asking personal questions. I'm not talking about asking about liabilities and assets. I'm just simply talking about educating them on what a balance sheet is. What's a balance sheet? Most people don't know what that is. Let's start there, right? Take the time to educate the employees on a balance sheet. Here's another thing that you can do to be proactive. Take the time to educate them on what is a monthly budget. Well, that's too simple, right? It's not sophisticated enough. Who said that? Who was speaking earlier this morning to talk about it? It didn't have to be that sophisticated. I think you were, yeah. I'm not a sophisticated person. I love the simple stuff. Start the financial fitness journey at home. At home. A lot of people will ask me, what are those letters behind your name? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm joking, I know what they mean. The point is that nobody cares. Nobody cares until they know how much I care. And we talk about, I love this, by the way, this right here. So if I'm the leader of an organization, I'm the owner of a small business, and I'm preaching financial fitness, right? I'm preaching financial accountability. And my employees see me buying a brand new $150,000 BMW M whatever, 17, I don't know what they are up to now. I'm not a car guy either. And if they see me buying one of those every year, what are their beliefs? Oh, boss is just loaded. Loaded. Just writing checks. You're not backing it up. You're not backing it up. Okay? What am I saying? Am I saying don't have any fun? Don't go buy nice things? No. I get it. And I like nice things. I like nice things. You like nice things. Right? I like smart clothes. Okay? I like fitness stuff. You know that. Right? My fitness guru over here. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is simply ask those questions, right? Show your employees that you actually care. I'm not saying step over HR's toes. Okay? I'm saying simply educate them on the basics. Why is that so important? It's important because we have to understand behavior. Behavior, right? Think about it. Humans. Let's talk about our ancestors. We go back thousands and thousands of years, right? The human brain was and is designed to do one thing and one thing only. What's that? Anybody know? Keep us alive. Period in the story. Don't care if we are in 3000 BC or in the year 3025. Don't be the same. So our brains as humans are inherently lazy. I'm not saying you're lazy. Pump the brakes. I'm saying our brains are lazy. Why? Because it takes a tremendous amount of energy to function. Our brains use a lot of energy. Hence why when you're hungry, you're like, you feel like you're sluggish, right? You're not sharp, it just takes long, right? So if we think about that, and we think about, okay, well, if our brains are inherently lazy, and they're designed to make us survive, then what the heck is the brain going to do when it's faced with 401ks, assets, liabilities, balance sheets, stocks, bonds, fixed income, derivatives, mortgages, different colors, charts, percentages, right? Unless you're a CFA. If you're a chartered financial analyst, then you're just like eating that stuff up. Most people aren't, right? So what happens? The brain just goes, nope, checking out. And the fascinating thing is, and this is just for my own amateur reading, because it fascinates me on how our brains work, is that over time, our brains develop what I call expressways, right? Expressways, so that we can make quick decisions to keep us alive. Again, going back to survival. And it makes sense if you think about it, right? So 3,000 years ago, you've got a tribe walking through the forest, they're going to get water or food, whatever, they're coming back and they're like, wait a minute, there's some prints there that weren't there before. And there's a couple limbs broken over there. Those weren't broken. Maybe we shouldn't go there. Maybe there's danger. Same reason why, if you're on a hike and you see a snake, most people, their instinct kicks in and they react and it's like, and then you probably don't even remember what happened. You're like, I don't know what happened. I just ran for like, 3 miles and then I blacked out. I have no idea. Because that's that reptilian part of the brain, right? The amygdala kicking in and just going survival mode, okay? So what happens when we are faced with all of these things in the financial planning space? Mortgage rates, car loans, credit cards, assets, liabilities, stocks, bonds. We shut down. Same exact thing that my parents did. I'll get to it tomorrow. We'll do it next year. Wait till the kids are out of college. Next summer's better. Now is not a good time. Same exact thing. Why? Because it takes a lot of mental brain power to think about that stuff, right? Does it not? Is it more fun to spend money or save money? Spend money! Amazon, great example. They came out with a one-click buy. That was not good for me. I'm all about convenience, right? There's a reason they came out with a one-click buy. They know exactly what they're doing. And guess what? So does every other marketing company in this country. They know exactly how to market to us, to humans in general. Humans, interestingly enough, are very, very, very predictable as a group, right? So as a leader of the organization, as an owner of a small business, you have to not only understand that your employees are looking at you as an example, but that they also are wired very much the same from an instinct and a primeval standpoint as everybody else. They don't want to deal with the money conversation. It's not fun. It's stressful. It's emotional, right? Money is incredibly emotional. So you can't just go to your employees and say, quit spending all your money and buying new trucks and save more money. Most people that have common sense, maybe most people don't, but most people know things, right? They know, okay, yeah, I can probably save it. So if you're a leader of influence in an organization, don't be lazy and say, stop buying all that crazy stuff and save more money. They probably know that. You got to help them figure out why they're not executing. What's the hang-up? So I had a conversation yesterday. It's a prime example, real world. Conversation yesterday. Met with a prospective client. One of the first things she says to me says, I got a problem spending money. Cool. What do you spend money on? A lot of things. All right. How many cars do you got? 3. Okay. You drive all 3 months? I didn't say. But my point is that it's across all sectors of the population. Money's hard. It's hard to deal with. I think it's even harder than it was 50 years ago because now we have that little thing called social media that perpetuates what? FOMO, right? FOMO, fear of missing out. Gotta have that new thing. Gotta have that new iPhone. Never mind that I just got the iPhone 6 months ago. I gotta have a new one because so-and-so has it. And so-and-so is sending their kids to this school and they just bought a brand new car, so I gotta buy a brand new car. Let me tell you something. I've been doing financial planning for 10 years. The wealthiest people I work with, if they walk through that door right now, you would have no idea. None. The wealthiest client that I have showed up to our first meeting in 1987. I'll never forget this. It's like burned in my memory forever. 1987 GMC pickup truck dressed in overalls. That's the kind of people I like working with. Don't show up to a meeting with me in a Bugatti. We got problems. Because that Bugatti's probably financed. Right? And these are some of the things you have to help your employees understand. Because what do they see? They're seeing that on social media. They're seeing their neighbors. Right? It's everywhere. The American dream. Buy a house, buy a brand new car, buy a boat, buy a bunch of toys, go into debt, freak out about it, pay it all off. be really good for like 6 months or a year, then go back into debt again. You know how I know that? I've been there. I've been there. I know the struggle. It's hard. I don't like saving money. I like spending money. It's way more fun. Not to mention, we as humans get a little hit of what when we spend money? Dopamine! Everybody's favorite. Exactly why there's a one-click buy on Amazon. Make it easy. Exactly why we have people that have problems with shopping. It's their coping mechanism. Now, am I saying that you need to be overnight a psychologist or a psychiatrist? No. But I think there was a great question in one of the previous speakers. I think Robbie said it. Not how are you doing, what are you doing? Really taking the time to understand what's going on in the minds of your employees is so critically important. Because not only does it show them that you actually care, but it allows you to help figure out, okay, how do they think and feel about money in general? What drives them? You know, why are they good or bad? Those are some really key questions you can be asking. In addition to, as I mentioned before, expect more out of my industry. I can't emphasize that enough. Ask those questions. Because you may not have, in fact, in most cases, a leader, an owner, is not going to have the bandwidth, the time, to have deep conversations like that with every employee. Am I right? Especially in large organizations. And that's not even taking into account the whole HR part, right? I'm just talking about it in general. So that's where you have to rely on professionals in the same way that you rely on professionals for your accounting, taxes, banking, you name it. Expect more. There's one message I get across today is expect more. And the last thing I'll mention is this, and that is, as the leader, if your financial house is in shambles, fix it. You can't even get up there and try to help people if they have any inkling or any sort of thought that your financial house is in shambles, or the business financials are in shambles. And trust me, they know. People talk, especially in smaller companies. People talk about that stuff. So everything you're going to be saying to them is going to be going in one ear and out the other. And it comes down to that little tiny word that we all struggle with every single day. It begins with an E, ends with an O. There's a G in it. Ego. Right? Somebody said it earlier. If you're the smartest man in the room or the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. It's true. So as the leader of the organization, you've got to have courage. It does take courage. It's not easy. So look in the mirror and say, you know what? I've got some things I need to do on mine before I try to inspire my employees to do the same. And that's good. I get it. It's not easy. It's tough. Mentally, emotionally, it's difficult. And to get excited about saving money, right? It really is difficult. Like, I don't know anybody who wakes up in the morning and is like, today's going to be a good day. I'll save some money. Who says that? Nobody. What do we say? Today's going to be a good day. Picking up a brand new truck. Right? Picking up a brand new phone. Whatever. So you kind of see that the pattern here. It's helping your employees break out of that cycle. Because otherwise, they're just going to be pre-programmed like the financial industry has done. Right? Pre-program this country, go to work, save the 401k. When you get done with work, take the 401k, put it into an IRA, and then take out 4%. Ever heard of 4% rule? That used to be the thing. Now it's probably something more than that. But that used to be the thing. Take out 4%. That's what everybody's hearing. But the other thing they're hearing is this. Well, what's your number? What's your retirement number? In fact, there was a really good commercial, and I love this commercial. They don't air it anymore. But I think it was AIG that had this commercial where like everybody's walking around on this public street. They got these huge numbers in their hands. And it's like, what's your number? And then this guy's trimming his hedges, and the neighbor comes over and he's like, hey, what's that? And it's the word gazillion, literally, the word gazillion. And he's like, that's my retirement. He's like, oh, how are you going to get there? He's like, I don't know. But that's the mentality that a lot of people have. Where does that come from? The industry. Why? Do I know why? Follow the money. Follow the money. I just told you how those advisors get paid for the most part. Follow the money. Is any of this illegal? Where am I ethical? Am I doing this? Absolutely. Absolutely it is. So it's not so much about figuring out your number. So if you think about that, that number really means nothing. It's comfort. It's comfort. And for someone that's focusing on a number, you have employees that are focusing on, hey, I have X amount in my 401k, or I have X amount here. They're focusing on the wrong thing. Here's a great question you can ask them. It's going to make you sound really, really smart. How much cash flow does that number produce? Because that is where the magic is. I don't care about the number. I want to know how much cash flow it's going to produce. That's what I care about, right? The other thing you have to remember is there's so much attention paid to get to the top of the mountain. Work 30 years, work 35 years, get to the top of the mountain. All right, at the top of the mountain, time to retire. Sweet. 62, 65, 60, whatever the age is, want to retire. Nobody talks about coming down. Mount Everest. Let's talk about Mount Everest. The actual mountain. Again, I nerded out on this. A little bit of research. Found out that the majority of the injuries, the fatalities on Mount Everest actually come from the descent, not the ascent. I thought about that. I was like, why is that? And I just speculated as to why. I figured, okay, well, you reach the top of the summit, kind of that euphoria, you've done it, take pictures, whatever, do your Facebook Lives, can out there, I don't know. So when you're coming down, what happens? You kind of slack, lackadaisical. That's what happens to a lot of people when they get to the top of the summit of retirement. Their whole lives, they've thought they just need to get to the summit, just keep saving, get to the summit, and then they get to the summit and they're like, how do we get down? There's no attention paid. Again, I go back to expecting more. Expecting more from the industry. It's okay, I'm giving you permission, okay? Everybody's got my permission. If anybody gives you a hard time, you can say, hey, Kurt gave you permission to expect more from you. You should. This country's in a mess, financially. And I believe it's part of my responsibility to help fix it. I can't help it. But I can help spread a message to everyone here to go back to your companies and inspire others to ask those questions and really sit and think about, what do I want? Someone talked about it earlier. What do you want? Well, I'm tired. Well, I want a really big house on the lake. I hear you. I do too. But why? Why is that? That's what Simon Sinek talks about in his book, is keep asking why. If somebody says to me, well, I want a big lake house, I want a big beach house, why? Well, because, I want to go to the beach. Why? Well, because I went to the beach as a kid and my grandparents were really now we found out the real why. And that's important for employers, it's important for small business owners to know the real why behind it. Because, Robbie talked about communication styles. Right? So it's valuable information as an employer, as a small business owner, to know, okay, I know what motivates Darren. Yeah, I know what motivates Darren. I know his why. He shared me his why about his fond memories of spending summers with his grandparents and his family at the beach, and that's why he wants to have beaches. So am I saying that as a leader or an owner that you're going to talk to Darren and say, I'm going to help you with the financial? Oh, no, I'm not saying that. Don't mishear what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that by having that conversation, and inspiring that employee or all of your employees to do something about it and really drill down to their why, you have literally just separated yourself from every other boss they work with. I'm telling you. Because no one's asking those questions. No one is asking those questions. It's all about what? Fun stuff. Rate of return. Apple stock. Market's going way up. Need to buy Shiba. That's the new one now, Shiba. That's going right to the moon. Right? That's the fun stuff. What's not fun? Budget. Balance sheet. Taking a hard look at it. Okay? We share another story. This will hopefully help drive home the point about why people have such a hard time grasping and taking ownership and accountability for their financial habits. So I shared with you that my mother's 69. She retired at age 62 with $14,000 in her retirement. So I don't have to pull up my financial calculator to show everybody that that's just not going to cut. Everybody can pretty much figure that out. She also took Social Security early against my advice, because I'm her son, and let's face it, I don't know, right? For years, me and my two sisters and my brother used to Mom, you think you might have arthritis. You know, we're doctors, but you might have arthritis. I think you do. I mean, we'll talk to the doctor about it. Nah. So what happened? Finally goes, because it got bad. And what did the doctor say? So I didn't dare say to her, but I said, the point here is this, is that my mother's extremely smart. She's a caring person. She's fun to be around. She's from New Jersey, which is where I get a lot of my fire, energy, right? But she didn't want to go to the doctor. Because she didn't want a professional to tell her what she already knew. Because then it's unright. And that's official. Remember, going back to the brain, right? It's funny how we as humans have ways of compartmentalizing things, boxing things up, right? I'm guilty of it just like everybody else. Avoiding things, right? Now, what does that have to do with financial planning? Most of your employees, of your people, most of them know that they could improve their financial health to some degree, right? Maybe some more than others. So what's stopping them from going to do something about it? The answer is because they don't want a professional telling them what they already know to be true. And that's why I think it's incredibly important as leaders, as people, if they look up to your organization, to encourage them to do something about it. Encourage them. Because it is a scary thing. One of the first things that I will applaud someone is if they're coming in my office for the first time, and this is their first meeting with a financial planner, I congratulate them because I know how mentally challenging it is to book that appointment. I mean, I may as well be asking them to run a 50K. Right? It's mentally challenging. Now, why is that? One, because we talk about the brain, right? And how the brain works, the fact that our brain doesn't want to deal with complicated stuff, the numbers are certain things. It's a problem. Right? That's part of it. It's part of it. What's the other part? The other part of it comes from the industry side. Because there, inevitably, what I've found is that when I start asking questions, and I ask a question like, what's been your experience? What are your expectations? Then they tell me a story about a bad experience that they had, or they knew someone that had, right? And usually, it involves some sort of criminal activity, right? Ponzi scheme. Which, by the way, on that note, we'll side up here. Ponzi schemes are so prevalent right now in this country, the media stops reporting on them. Y'all know that? So I get a couple different financial newsletters every week, and not a week goes by, and there's not an article in there about Ponzi scheme somewhere in this country. Now, I'm not talking about Bernie Madoff stocks, but the fact of the matter is, they're out there. And the industry, in my opinion, has lost the trust of the American public. And you all know well, when you lose somebody's trust, it's pretty tough to get it back, if you can get it back, right? So that's the other component here that's working against it. So to recap, understand the behavioral side of the finance. Understand why really smart people, good people, don't want to go do something about their financial situation. Understand it. It's not that they don't necessarily want to, it's that they don't know how to. And it's your job as the leader, as the owner, to show them that path, right? So behavior is one piece of it. Financial culture is another piece. If you're preaching sound financial responsibility as the leader, and they see you out buying cars and all kinds of other stuff, that doesn't match up. Let everyone do something. It's fine. Still post all over social media. Easy up. Right? Your message is going to get lost. In my opinion. And the third thing is expectation. Expect more. Expect more from the professionals in the financial industry. Expect more. And lastly, I would say it's courage. Have the courage. As a leader, as an owner, have the courage to have that conversation. Really get to know your people. What motivates them? What's driving their minds? That's all I got for today. We got 9 minutes for questions. Anybody? Did that work? Awesome. Thank you all. Oh, hold on. Let's get that question.
All right, I'll hand it to you first.